Hi everybody. So this is Tom at Culture Chap, and today I'm bringing you an oldie but a goodie. There's a few oldies I'm bringing up here because I think they're still very good, but they're sort of forgotten gems. And this one is Bullshot Crummond. It was written in the 70s, very popular in the 70s and the early 80s, even a film. And instead of, well, you know my videos if you're on this channel, I'm not going plot by plot point to tell you the entire story. And there are some videos where I ramble on because I love the play or the musical, and it goes on a little bit too much. So I'm determined to make a short one and to do this slightly differently. If you've done 39 steps and your patrons loved it, you will do well with Bullshot Crummond. It's excellent. It's in the same vein, a British parody of a 1920s, 1930s serial called Bullshot Drummond, but this is Bullshot Crummond. He is also sort of a Bullshot is sort of the idea of James Bond before James Bond existed. He's a part-time Olympian, a part-time sleuth, a part-time gentleman, a part-time a lot of things, and he's very funny. This play is two women, three men, so you can do it on a budget. It's a parody, and in the same style as 39 Steps, so you don't need extensive set pieces. You need cartoony fun pieces, and you can see from some of the pictures going past you that a lot of companies have done this on a budget and done really well. So it's your basic good parody. Somebody's in peril. It's a little Penelope Pitstop kind of serial parody, if you know what that is. Um, Penelope Pitstop was very popular in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then there were cartoons about her, and she was sort of always tied up on a rail line going, "Help, help." Um, Lots of offshoots of Penelope Pitstop. So the Bullshot Crummond and his friend, they are trying to get away from the von Ottos, Bruno von Otto and Lenya von Otto, who are bad people, bad people. And they've kidnapped Professor Fenton. Professor? Mr. Fenton. Anyway, they're also trying to do away with his daughter, Rosemary Fenton, who he saves, and she's the damsel in distress that ends up in her underwear. And here's my first, like, maybe don't do that. So why do we need a woman in her underwear running around screaming? It's almost done to death, and it's no longer funny. So, and I think it limits your casting. You should be able to cast anyone as Rosemary. Anyone, anyone, anyone. No matter what height, no matter what size. There are tons of scenes where he's carrying Rosemary around, which doesn't have to be done. Which limits your casting. Oh, he's got to carry her. We can't have a tall girl. We can't have a buxom girl. All this nonsense. Oh, she has to be in her underwear, and the actress is uncomfortable being in her underwear. Now, anyone can be uncomfortable running around in their underwear. And why are you doing it? So, I I didn't do this myself, but I was with a friend, and I was meant to be on vacation. And the friend was like, will you come sort of help me with this parody thing? And I wondered why, because he was very funny and very good director. And I realized I was there to sort of help his decision making. And the costumer, we both agreed that tiny skimpy panties is not funny. And the costumer was showing us what Rosemary was going to wear as far as underwear. And there were a lot of choices. And the costumer said, well, seems like you're really open-minded about all this. Why doesn't she just do all of them? All of them was great. So the first one was, it was all based on Rosemary's embarrassment of her underwear, which was actually very modest. So the first one was sort of a slip down to her knees, and it was dirty and torn up at the bottom. And she was very embarrassed that this was the state of her underwear. And that was a really good joke. The next one was sort of a 1930s sexy underwear, like strange, nothing revealing, big straps, but strange panels of lace which didn't show anything. It was just sort of the pattern, and it was red and black, and she was like, oh, her underwear didn't match her clothing that she was wearing. It was long again to her knees, and it could be considered rather kinky for its time. Not for any modern day kink idea, but the fact that it was so, like, out there for them, for the costume she had been wearing before, that made the humor. And the third one was kind of a basic slip in a purple and had kind of kooky patterns on it. I was like, is this funny? But it had a big slit, and it showed her tap pants, her very sort of boy short, flimsy on the side, tap pants, and it showed a lot of leg. And that was what Rosemary was embarrassed about. She kept pulling it over on her leg. And I said, thank you for involving me in your fitting, which seemed uncomfortable, but we all had a good time. Would the actress, do you feel comfortable doing all these different bits about your underwear? And she's like, yeah, as long as I'm covered up, I'm great. And then she suggested, which I thought was very good, which was, I don't want to run around in high heels. Now, in the 30s and the 40s, the heels weren't that high, but they were high enough. Now, it's an action show, just like 39 Steps, and the damsel in distress, the femme fatales, they have to run around a lot. Whether it's Lenya or Rosemary, they have to run around a lot, so why should they be in high heels? You know I'm against that. It's dangerous, it's no fun, and you can't do the kind of stunts that you would normally do in lower heels. So we brought in heels from the 1960s, which were cool because those 60s heels were based on 1920s heels. There were a lot of fashions in the 60s based on the stuff from the 1920s. So chunk, lower heel, still really cool looking shoes. And then as the run kept going, because it was held over, it went from 4 weeks to 10 weeks. So there had to be adjustments. So they made it a bit in the show for her to be like, my shoes, my heels. And she just changed into slippers to run around. They were hilarious. It was really, really good. And I thought, this is excellent. And in the slippers, she had running insoles. So like the Dr. Scholl's running insoles, whatever the equivalent is in that your country. Arch support, secure. The interior was tighter on her foot than a normal slipper. It was all well done. And she thought it was great. It was really great. Oh, and traction on the bottom. I think these improvements should be made. I think that it's funnier for her to be embarrassed about being in her under things, whatever they are, and being covered up, and then the exposing the leg thing, hilarious. Also, another friend of mine did it in another country, and they were very good about their casting. Itchy. Winter hay fever. They were very good about their casting, but she was taller than he was. And we learned some tricks from Zendaya and Tom Holland, because she is taller than he is, and he's always having to save her in Spider-Man, and how they sort of handled that. So she carried him. Fantastic. It's a parody. You can do whatever you want. Again, the sets don't have to be crazy. They're meant to be a parody. I want you to look in the details down below, and shows you the original production of this, one of the originals. And the sets are doable. You need a good painter. You need good flats. You need a good carpenter who can cut things out with a jigsaw easily. And this really makes the piece. It's about the running around. It's about the parody. It's about the fun. Again, some people have told me this is an old piece. No one wants to see this piece. It's been done to death. Has it? We are years and years away from the 70s and the 80s. Years. And if it was popular then, it'll be popular now. If you've already done 39 Steps, if you're eyeballing those things coming out of Mischief Theater, which you know I love, I keep putting their videos up, then this piece will work for you. It's that same kind of parody. You could have things that you do that aren't in the script. Things go wrong. You know, the play that goes wrong, Christmas Carol that goes wrong, the spies that go wrong. Those are really popular now. They're popular for a reason because parody is always popular. And we need funny things right now in society. And you need to give your patrons funny things to come watch. So, this play was a hit. It can still be a hit. It's just one of those pieces that's a little older, that has been forgotten about for most theaters. And when you start knocking into it, you see that it's just as excellent as the pieces that are more recent, like 39 Steps, or How Did the Baskervilles, or any of those parody comedies. It's just as good. And maybe you'll get some of the old timers going, I remember that show, I'm going to go. I'm going to take the whole family. Maybe you get new patrons who think that you are being a good cultural hub, which is important, by bringing out older pieces and not just going with the same things that every other theater in their state, in their country, in their province is doing. That you are more clever, that you're digging deeper, that you're wanting to entertain them, and you don't want to charge them $1 bazillion or £10,000 for a ticket like a lot of Broadway shows or West End shows. This is a proven piece, and it can be done anywhere. Community theater, Amdram theater, anywhere. It's available to all of you for a really reasonable price. Only 5 people. That doesn't mean you can't put in extra people to do different funny things. There can always be a crowd. There can always be all kinds of different people. I'm remembering several friends that have done this and done different crowd things, and I'm not going to tell you because it's where you want to put your crowd in. And they had very different crowds, and it was a more expensive show. The one person raised the cast to 12. I don't know if that's needed. They did very well. But they had a huge stage, more than 30 feet across. And I do support him with going for inexpensive sets, spending more of his money on costumes, paying his actors well, and his designers, and not spending much on set, and filling that space up with more people. And it was excellent in the sense that when she was in her underwear, they were like, there were lots of reactions. When something was wrong, there was reactions from different people. They ran into people. There was pratfalls. And I really like that he gave some younger actors a chance. One was a tumbler. And them doing flips around the place and so forth, the audience loved. Was it just cheap? Like, oh, there's the tumbler again. What's he going to do? There's the acrobat. Yeah, it's a parody. You can do what you want. But it gives people that aren't normally in your shows, or those ensemble members that have been in every musical or every other thing, and maybe they're not good enough to have a lead, maybe it gives them more to do. And being in a parody really shows you what other talents they have. It's an idea. It's an idea. Again, if your stage is huge, it might be good filler to have a crowd in different places, to spend less on set. That was a good idea. So see what you think. If you're a creative director and producer, you can find other things for these ensemble members to do. And being in a comedy that's not a musical comedy that they're always in, that might be just the ticket for them. Okay? This is also a play for voices, accents. Now, I know a lot of people will shy away from, oh, we can't do a British accent. It's a parody. You make your British accent as good as you can do it and see what you can get out of it. Also, the Von Ottos, what kind of accent do they have? Not necessarily British. What do they have? I like it when they have sort of a sing-songy German. Yeah. You know that sing-songy, it couldn't possibly exist in the real world. I'm a German milkmaid kind of thing. Yeah, I'm from the Black Forest. Yeah. It's very like Denmark, Sweden meets Germany kind of accent that's not really a thing. Funnier, very, very funny because it doesn't really exist. I also think it's funny to ramp up the humor when doing British accents if you can do a lisp. Now, with my background, if there were family members from my English side that had a lisp, my father would go like, "Oh, you know they're inbred, don't you? They're very, very inbred," because they can't speak correctly. But I think it's funnier with certain types of characters. Remember spy parody, detective parody? He doesn't always use his same accent when questioning other people. He's trying to be slick. And how is he trying to be slick? By trying on really bad accents, or having a lisp, or trying to seem aristocratic, and lisping some of his words, and, just jumping from there. Different pitches of your voice, different angles. It all makes your audience love you all the more when you're really trying and you've hired your best people. Again, hire your best actors. I always keep saying that. Stop putting in those preconceived ideas in your brain of who's the best or who should be the femme fatale. She can be anyone. Lena, and Rosemary can be anyone. Anyone, anyone, anyone. Talent is what you need. How old is Bullshot? I don't know. How old do you think he is? It doesn't matter. Put your best people in this despite their age. All right? Talent is what's most important in this piece. All right. Now, my one friend, my 4 or 5 friends from different countries will say like, "Oh, it's another scolding video." Like, no, it's another please be creative video. This is a great piece. Be super creative. Let your mind wander into those other places that make this show not the same as the way everybody else does it. You are an original, and you want your patrons to believe that you're an original and that you're creative, and you're giving them the very best show you can. Best costumes, best talent, best creativity, and silly, amazing surprises. All right. Bullshot Crummond. Everything's in the description. We'll talk again. All right. Thanks. Bye.